Hello. Tonight I'd like to talk about the relation between the USA and the Russian Federation. In view of the latest circumstances, since I've been talking about this for a long time, my views are I explained them in some previous talks, but I will try to make a brief resume. And from the strategic point of view, now these are relations between two nuclear arms countries. One is an empire, and the other one is ex-empire, which collapse, capitulate, whatever. But the Soviet Union, I'm talking the Soviet Union, which doesn't exist any longer. Now, the Russian Federation inherit the might of the Soviet Union and all the problems that represent the breakdown of that country. Now, this is a relation between powers and is transpersonal. What I mean by this? Of course, leaders are the most important things, but they are not the only motive that drives a society. A society is more like its leader. Of course, the leaders mark a direction, and sometimes, of course, they are indispensable sometimes, but a society is more than that. It's more than its leader. It's a reflection of the collective will. If we take the United States of America, we have the presidents. Now we have a president in the USA which is a showman, perhaps. It's very difficult to define that person, this person, but he was elected. He was elected by the college, by the college, the representative of the election, because he didn't win with in votes. I think the opponent, the Democrat Hillary, got 2 million more votes or something, but it's irrelevant. He's the president and he got the power. But in the USA, that power is limited. Same thing in Russia. Is limited. They cannot do all they wish to do. Sometimes they do it, but they have to restrain themselves because there are so other powers, other pressures. In the USA, you have the Congress, the group. The Congress are the lobbyists of the powerful groups, the military industrial complex, the finance system, the health systems. I mean, the energy systems. I mean, all those systems are people, are groups, are clans. They are the shadow government. And it's very difficult to go against them. It's very difficult. Now, in Russia, Russia is a republic with a president. It's something unknown, because it was an empire and then was a socialist country for 70 years, and all of a sudden change, mutate into a republic with plurality of parties. I mean, it's something very strange to the Russian traditions. No, they copied the countries of the West, the capitalist country, because Russia is a capitalist country, but the capitalists are the ones who make a theory. They stole all the assets of the Soviet Union, but that's an old story. But the thing is that the president, Mr. Putin, he got power, but he is trying to make some sort of equilibrium within different factions. Now, in Russia, we have two main ideas: the Eurasianist and the Atlantist. The Atlantist, that's a name they give the ones who business or oligarchs, mainly oligarchs, and some intellectuals that they dream to be part of the Europe, or be part of like the USA. They would like to be like the USA, like the UK, even to Germany. So they have an identity problem, a big one, and also sort of a complex problem also regarding their relation with the USA, which these particular people, they admire, and they cannot understand why the USA is an adversary, is a foe, is an enemy, because the USA this is transpersonal. The USA is an empire, and we're talking about capitalist countries, and they want to be the only ones. So Russia is a nuclear power, and the way to defeat Russia is not by war, is weakening Russia, and that's what they'll do it. And they threatening Russia in all kinds of ways: military, politically, diplomatic, economical, everything, because their goal is to weaken Russia and then return to the Yeltsin years. If they can achieve this, who knows? I don't think so, but in history, who can predict the future? Now, if we compare the USA and Russia, USA is $18 trillion economy, and when they say and invest 600,000 billions in defense, to have an idea, the intelligence community, their budget is around 55-60 billions a year. Now, the defense budget of the Russian Federation is 60 billions. It's 1/10 of the global budget of the USA. So that's a big difference. And Russia used to have, the Soviet Union, 20,000 or so corporation enterprises related to the military industrial complex, let's call it. Now they have 1,200, and many of them are private. Now, in the Soviet Union, they have problems with consumer goods and all those things that everybody knows and everybody talks about. But the military industry was a serious problem, serious things to get engaged in, because they could fool around with the cars or with the ice box or things like that, but not with tanks, not with airplanes, not with missiles. No, those are serious matters, and it works. Now, they changed in the last 25 years, 26 years now, and they lost about 10 years. All the 90s, the Yeltsin era, which was for the Russian Federation was catastrophic, period. Now, President Putin reversed all those things, and they had a war in Chechnya, so they controlled the Caucasus. They controlled the Caucasus, but the Russian Federation lost Ukraine as an allied. And the Baltic countries, they are not very important. Of course, they have a strategic situation, but they should know quite well that they be wiped out if there is a nuclear exchange. They will be the first to be taken out. The same thing like Poland and Romania. No doubt, the first strike will go around those bases. No doubt. So they should be more careful. Now, the takeover of the USA of Ukraine, because it was a takeover, and so the eastern part with Strekov, with his they tried to subvert the eastern part, Lugansk, Donetsk, but they failed in Kharkov and they failed in Odessa. That should have been taken over, definitely. And they expand and they contract. Now, the Russian army went into the frontiers thinking that the regime on Kiev may back up. But no, they are backed by the USA. And Germany in second place. In Poland in the second place. The USA. So they didn't have any need to back up. No. So for some particular reasons, Igor Strekov was taken out. And the things, Donetsk and Lugansk Oblast, they should be taken over. Same thing like the Kharkov and this fight of Odessa. That was a terrible mistake. That was a terrible mistake because in international relations, what counts is the fait accompli. Period. Because we're talking about nuclear powers. nuclear powers, and nuclear powers cannot be soft. The United States knows quite well that, and they exercise their power. Now, the restraint performed by the Russian Federation is unbelievable, and they may pay dearly if they don't wake up, because the USA, of course, in its strategy, it's quite clear that you have to push and hit them in many parts and keep them on the defensive. And that's what the present situation, no matter what, the international, the diplomacy, they talk and make the quartet, the quintet, the pattern of they make relations, and but it doesn't work. It does not work. The United States are led by realists, and realists are prone to understand. They understand quite well which are the relations in the world today, not the world that would like to be, no, the world that it is. And then a power, a nuclear power, should exercise power too. That's what the parties understand. That's my position. Now, lately, the United States did all kinds of things. They break their words. They have missiles in Poland. They are anti-ballistic missiles, but they can put cruise missiles in those launches and have them in 2,400 kilometers. They can strike the heart of Russia from Poland and from Romania. Now, they will, not probably, but they thread them. They thread them there, they thread them in the Baltic. And also and always, the United States is defending themselves from aggression. So the Russians are portrayed as aggressors, which is very silly. Anyone who understands a little bit about geography and geopolitics and military affairs know that Russia is not an aggressor country. They try to hold what they have because they lost a lot. And they are threatened in the Caucasus, in Chechnya. They in a strategy, they try to activate here and then there, then another. Then you have the fifth column. Then you have the Central Asian countries. So it's sort of like a concert orchestra director directing and having the musician play the tune and the rhythm that he wants. I don't know if is appropriate the example, but that's what is going on, and for years and years. And the move that the Russian Federation did is too little, too late. There's nothing. Curtail the embassy staff. Of course, there are thousands of them. There are thousands of spies. And then the Russian that works, unless they are from the FSB, some may be, some may be not. Who knows? Of course, if I were from the Russian informatia apparatus, I try to put a double agent there. Of course, everybody knows that. And the thing that the Russians tried to meddle in the USA's election, well, they might have. The United States have been doing this for decades now, for decades, all over the world, regime change, fixing election, you name it. But the public relation apparatus is working very well, because they got the people around the world thinking that they have high moral standards. Now most people, I mean, not most people, the people who are involved in this, because if anyone talks to people out in the streets, most of them do not know nothing. They might watch the TV, sometimes in the computer, but they are very worried. They're very busy doing all the other things, not engaging in international politics. Please, no. That's what happened with the great majority of people. They are concerned with their own lives, and there are a certain amount, very few in each country, who are really concerned and understand the problems. No, the other ones, they have an idea, but they can change their idea anyway. I mean, it's not fixed. So the marketing that the USA is doing is excellent from my point of view. I mean, I don't think it's good, but I think the work they're doing is being giving them real good results. Good result. They got Ukraine. They got missiles in Romania. They are in the Black Sea. Of course, they wanted the Crimea, because if they were able to deprive the Russians of the Crimea Peninsula, bingo, that was perfect, because the southern flank of the Russian Federation could be open to operate freely. So having Crimea, it was an imperative strategic place. Besides, it belongs to Russia. But let's forget about those technicalities. Crimea and the eastern part, from the Dnieper, from all the Dnieper River, should be controlled by Russian Federation. It's not an internal matter of Ukraine. No. It's a matter that concerns the Russian Federation, and the loss of Ukraine was a catastrophe for Russia, a catastrophe. And now, if we think about the power, Russia is trying to defend itself the best they can. The best they can. They have about 700,000 personnel in the armed forces. Half of them, they may be ready to present a good battle. The officer corps is first rate. The doctrine, the military doctrine of the armed forces are first rate. But it's not enough. You need some other things. Now, the restraint sometimes is misunderstood. is misunderstood. That's my position. Now, the population of the United States, they can hardly figure out the United States, how it is. How can they figure out where is Ukraine? They don't have any idea. Ukraine, Europe. They might have an idea of some place in Europe. That's all. That's all. And so, and the United States, they are very much concerned with Putin, with Donald Trump, because they don't like him. The establishment, they don't like him. Of course, he is pro type of authoritarian, type of racist, but that's represent some section of the United States. Now, everybody is talking about the United States is declining. Might be the middle classes, they're not. That's a capitalist problem. But I live in a country that's been declining for the last since I was born. I was born in the year 1939, and this country has been declining since the 1930s, and it's still going declining and declining. But it's here, it's there. I mean, it's so rich, the country. So to think that the United States is in a free fall doesn't have any. No, that's not serious. The United States is so far is powerful. Now there are some people may think the United States is in decline. The United States is in decline because the capitalist system is in decline. But it's in decline in the sense that it's showing what it is. It doesn't have any restraint because they have the full control, full spectrum control of the situation. That might be. The whole world is capitalist. There are 2,000 billionaires. 1,000 of them are from the USA. No, the capitalist system is in the final stage. I don't know. Who can tell whether the final stage so far is well and alive. I wish it wasn't, but reality shows me that that's the way it is from my perspective, unfortunately. So they're talking about a war. Russia will not start a war. If they didn't start it yet, they will not. United States, well, there are sometimes some of them are very. They have a lot of stupid people in the leading positions. They might do something silly because they are so powerful that they think that they may get away with anything they do. So far, they got away. They invade countries, they destroy countries, they kill millions of people, they destroy, well, you name it, Libya, they control anything, they control indirect control, because they always have, in any given country, they call the fifth column that work for them, the establishment. See, in Peru, the president was an ex-citizen of the United States who happened to work in the finance sector. See what happened in Brazil. Temer, they're all corrupt. They're all corrupt. The president of Argentina was in the Panama Papers. What happened with the Panama Papers? What happened? Nothing. Nothing. So it's forgotten. So that's the way the world it is now. Who suffer? The people suffer, especially the most vulnerable, the poor. Let's say in Syria, in Iraq, the more vulnerable people, those are poor people. Those are the ones who suffer, and they try to migrate. And also, when we talk about the poor, we also have to think about the middle classes, the lower section, the lower echelons of the middle classes. Now, they might be technicians, they might be professionals, but they have a lot of knowledge, but they don't have wealth. So those people, they live well while they have work, but when the country collapses, they lose everything. Everything. Not the rich ones. I mean, some rich, they may lose some, but some others don't. I'm looking about in Baghdad, in Damascus. Look, also in Kabul, they always have some bubbles. Just something I do when I like to see a bubble, I look for real estate development in any country. In Kenya, I was looking about Kenya and said, oh my God, they got gay communities. And I said, oh my God, this is a beautiful place. Talking about Kenya. So you can do it anywhere. I did it in Egypt too. I mean, those places I remember. They're beautiful developments, incredible. So that's the way societies are. It works. I'm astonished, but they hold the power. They hold the power. And those people who are real well off, without being billionaires or even millionaires, I mean, they may have 20 million dollars. But I mean, we're talking about millionaires, 500, 700 million dollars, and then billionaires above $1 billion. But let's take about 10 people who happen to have $10 million each, and that make 100 million. So you get a group of about 50 of them, and you got 500 millions. I mean, and those are the ones, not only the ones who are on top. You have these layers of people who are powerful too when they get together. And there are not many, of course. In a country, might be, let's say, in a country like Argentina, just to say, well, a number might be 10,000 of them. I mean, who knows? You have to think about big ranch owners, and then think about investors. They call them investors in companies and things like that. And then you have another layer that managers and professionals and everything. Now, those are the ones who make the system works. And so I'm getting too emphatic about those things, but my first talk was about the relations of USA and Russia. Well, that's the relation of two big, powerful countries, but The United States is a country that produces, or it got $18 trillion or some more. And Russia is 2.5 trillion, 2 trillions and a half, just like Brazil. So that explains a lot of things, and well, so far war didn't start. Hope never start, because might be nuclear and we'll be all dead. So that's the present situation. And China is in the side. China is trying to gain time. I mean, and there are some people in the States that think that the USA should get along with China and things like that. With Russia, they are not very much interested. They are interested in neutralizing Russia, neutralizing the will to resist the hegemony of the USA. Europe is not an adversary for the USA. There are 25, 30 countries. They're not an adversary. The European Union is a myth. It's not a union. It's shaky. It's shaky. And who knows how long it lasts. If the British got away from the European Union, then Britain, they can predict things. They thought, and they got into the European Union, but now they're getting out. And in the history, they knew what they've been doing. We'll see. Hard to predict. And France is a nuclear power with the force de frappe, but the French are not interested in blow themselves up. Of course not. The other countries, they are not very, very important in this conflict. And then we have to think about the Middle East. The Middle East is all about oil, about energy, about power. The USA is doing their job, like the Brzezinski established, and they have the central command that in that area to control. And Iran is not a threat. Iran is not a threat. The problem in Iran, they got problem with the Arabs. The Persians got problem with the Arabs. The Arabs have got problem with the Turkish. The Turkish have got problem. So they have a long history of animosity. Now sometimes they are in equilibrium. Sometimes the hell broke loose. Now it's a very unstable equilibrium, and they fight each other for so many reasons. Same thing with Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia, the Vietnamese, they distrustful from the Chinese distrustful from the Japanese distrustful, they've been fighting or everyone against everyone. Now, so you have the alliance. The Pakistanis, they are allied with with China, because their enemy is India. Now they got relations, diplomatic relations. That's the surface, but underneath is a mistrust. People, countries, they mistrust each other, and that been from the whole history. Can it be changed? And the system, the capitalist system, exacerbate all these problems. They are exacerbated. Now, a socialist world might be better, probably might be better, will not solve all the problems, but it could have been a less bellicose world. I remember when they have the problem in the river Amur with the Soviet Union and the Russians, well, they fought with fists. I mean, they tried to keep it down. Well, that was solved. But now Russia is having good relation with China, because the main enemy is the USA, so they have to get along so far. Now imagine if there is a problem with Russia, with a weakened Russia, and China, let's, as a hypothesis, and China get Siberia. Goodbye, USA. But that's an hypothesis. It's nothing realistic, and that's the way the world is today. In Russia is trying to do the best they can, but this is not the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union is gone. The country is under the capitalist oligarchs. And also think about the history of Russia. You got to think about the history of the empire, of the Tsars, and the Soviet Union took that in some way, the behavior, of course, because they were Russians, and now the Russians are not British, so the system cannot be like the British or like the Americans, which are not very good system as well, but they cannot, and they perform better with the authoritarian regimes. Now, if in Russia is a unstable equilibrium, because in the government you have the central bank, but Nibulina or something, which are trying to engage. They are engaged in the international finance system. So, by the way, the Soviet Union, when they tried to engage in the international finance system, that was it. Starting with Poland, with the International Monetary Fund. Impossible. That was a very crazy thing to do. But the Soviet Union doesn't exist any longer, so let's think about Russia today. I hope they can hold themselves together and try to make a stronger response, because that's what the USA will understand. If not, they will go on trying to destabilize Russia, of course, anywhere in the world, anywhere in the Russian, in Eurasia, and of course, no doubt about it. That's transpersonal things. You may have Donald Trump today, and tomorrow might be another, but the idea is that the idea force. And the idea force in Russia is try to keep themselves together. And that's the way things are today. Thank you.